Welcome to the Landy Peak podcast. I'm your host and friend, Landy Peak, and I am thrilled to have you join me. In each episode, we will explore what makes life truly fulfilling: happiness, deep connections, and self-discovery. Together, we'll uncover that happiness is not a destination, but a way of living. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to the Landy Peak podcast. This is your host and friend, Landy, and today's episode is one I've been waiting to share. I sat down with one of my mentors and favorite humans, Lynn Schulte. Lynn is a pelvic health physical therapist and founder of the Institute for Birth Healing. She's also the person who changed my entire understanding of healing power and what it actually means to come home in your body. In this conversation, we talk about the energetic bowl of the pelvis, how birth imprints live in our tissues, and what it means to sweep the bowl, and why reconnecting with your pelvic space changes everything, from parenting, relationships, to intuition, and even money. This isn't just a conversation about pelvic health. It's about reclaiming the part of you that the world never taught you how to feel. I am so thrilled to welcome Lynn Schulte to the Landy Peak podcast. Lynn, welcome to the podcast. Can you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Landy. I so appreciate any opportunity I get to share what I know because it's just so fun. And I'm so grateful to you for studying with me, learning from me, and taking this work and doing your own beautiful magic out into the world, because I have just found so I'm a pelvic health PT, so pelvic health physical therapist. I've been one for over 30 years. I stopped counting. I guess when I get to the next decade, I'll say for 40 years, but until I get there, it's been 30 years for quite a number of years. But been doing pelvic health PT for over half of those years. And I really have to say that, working with and studying with Tammy Lynn Kent, with her, she wrote 3 amazing books: Wild Feminine, Wild Mothering, Wild Creative. And I feel like I was kind of already starting to do that work, but she just really put this beautiful framework on it. And what started happening is, we both do intravaginal work. So we work in the pelvic space. And Tammy found like kind of this map, this cookbook recipe, so to speak, of what the different areas of the pelvis meant and everything, and working with the energy in that space. And after I had studied with her and started implementing this into my practice, I kept hearing I don't see people a lot of times in my practice. Like 1 to 3, sometimes longer, depending on what they have going on. But I kept hearing from people coming in going, "You changed my friend's life." And, "Oh, you changed my friend's life." I kept hearing that from these people showing up in my clinic. And I was like, "Really? Oh, okay." Like, that wasn't the intent of the session, but that's what happened when I helped women reconnect into their pelvic space, balance out the energy, and get them living in what I call the bottom of their bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just magic. I brought in some of the things that I knew and understood about changing limiting beliefs and, just really sensing, using my intuition of what needs to happen to make these beautiful shifts in people. And I had no idea that I was transforming lives. I was just helping people connect into their pelvic space. That was my intention.
Right.
And yeah, it's been so much fun to share this work with others. And I think it's super important for women, especially, because this can apply to men as well. But it's super important for us as women to understand the power that we hold in our bodies.
Right.
And particularly this pelvic space.
I had no idea until I met you how powerful our pelvic space is. And for us to really tap into it and understand the power, it is incredible.
It is. It is. It is. And I think that society has done a really beautiful job of disconnecting us from ourselves.
Yeah.
And we are distracted, we are addicted to social media, to our phones, to technology, to TVs, to, like there is so much to distract us and keep us away from what truly I feel is the most important thing is being in tune with ourselves,
Yes.
being in tune with our bodies. And there's a word that I learned a while ago. It's called interoception.
Yes.
And interoception is the signals from your body giving you signs and what it's needing.
Yes.
It's the thirst, it's the hunger. That's interoception. And pain is interoception. And unfortunately, it takes people to get to that point of being in pain to really then do their own work.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't. We can start so much earlier. But it's that pain point that is the pushing point to, oh my gosh, I need something. I mean, that's how I met you. I had a prolapse with my second kiddo, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awful. I need to figure out some way to heal my own body. I was OT in pediatrics. I was not looking to be in pelvic health. And my PT, and I was driving 3 hours to see her to Albuquerque, and she's like, oh my gosh, Lynn Schulte is coming to Albuquerque, and she's going to host this incredible, because she'd already taken your work, incredible course. You have to take it. And I'm like, I'm a peds therapist. She's like, oh, but it'll help you. So I'm like signing up, showing up where like my husband's bringing my little guy. I'm pumping, I'm nursing on lunch breaks, but it changed my life. So that 3 days literally changed my life. It hooked me on pelvic health and I completely changed my career, but it changed my body in such incredible ways. And it was the first time that permission, that idea to drop into my pelvic space. And it's like, oh, I didn't even know this was here. I mean, yes, it's attached to my body, but I'm living in my head. I didn't even know like embodiment and the rest of my body really existed. I was so out of touch and out of tune.
Is normal. Like that's, I would say 95% of the population is the same, Landy, and that's how they're going through life. And, you and I are here to share the message that, hey, everybody, there's a new way. There is a different way for us to walk and be in the world that is, it's magical.
It is magical. And it's so incredible as you tune into your own intuition, to those like, oh my gosh, this is like what I can do, and be creative and really tune into what I need and the power that comes from that. It was so incredible.
Yeah. And all that intuition, being okay with your feelings, having boundaries.
Yes.
And really knowing your truth. All of that comes from being connected to your pelvic space. And we just have never been taught that this is a thing or that it's important.
Right.
And I'm here, Landy and I are both here to say that please do what you can to connect into your body, connect into your pelvic space, and make it your friend.
Yes.
Because the pelvic space it can tell you what's going on in your body. It can tell you what's going on in your life. And this is so fun. And maybe let's lead people listening into a visualization.
Love that.
Because the most important thing for people to understand is that your body cannot lie.
Right.
Okay. But your mind can take you down 10 different paths of what it might be or what's really going on. Or, like our mind is so active and so powerful. But the antithesis to your mind is actually getting connected into, I feel, your pelvic space. Like those people who are anxious and worried and, their mind is going a mile a minute. You're on that hamster wheel. Getting in touch with your pelvic bowl is the antithesis to that.
Absolutely, it is. Every time I'm feeling that anxiety, I'm feeling that buzzy, I'm like overwhelmed, all the to-dos, it's because I'm not in my pelvic space. And as soon as it's like, oh, wait, take a moment, drop back in, see what's going on.
Yeah.
I know. And that's really taking things into my body because my mind can like convince me and unconvince me of the same thing in and out. But I come back to my body and I'm like, is this the truth? Is this what I need? You know, and you can use yes and no, but really bringing it into my bowl. I bring every decision into my bowl before I really go through it in life. It's like, this is the space to be. And the ones that I don't usually lead me down a winding path that's not always good for
A
me.
different experience, right? Yeah. For those of you listening in, you might be like, what? What are you talking about here? Sometimes people might be cut off from their pelvic space. Like they can't even access it. Okay. So let's start here with everybody. And I invite you all to just close your eyes, or if you're driving, please don't. But if you can, I invite you to sense whatever you could sense a color, you could sense a waterfall, or whatever feels right for you. But I want you to imagine from your head, allowing this color, this waterfall, this sensation to drain down your body and see if it can go past into your neck. Can it go past your neck and into your shoulders? Can it go into your chest? Can you feel it draining past your diaphragm, past your rib cage, down into your belly? And can you feel it actually settle into the bowl of your pelvis? If you guys look at your pelvis, this creates a bowl here with the pelvic floor muscles. I'm holding up a pelvic model here right now. And with the pelvic floor muscles at the bottom, this creates a bowl. And so that's what Landy and I are talking about when we talk about get in your bowl, be in your pelvis. And if you're sitting right now, just feeling those sit bones in your chair and sensing, can I connect all that way down there? And if you did that and you're like, nope, I kind of found a block at my diaphragm, block at my belly button, whatever it may be, sometimes people have cut themselves off from accessing this area because some things might have happened to you. And usually those things that happen to you are most likely a trauma response in the body. Like it was too much. You may have gotten invaded. When we talk about abuse, there's not only just sexual abuse, but verbal abuse, emotional abuse. All of that can cause us to disconnect from our pelvic space. And sometimes we create this like block in our body to keep us from freely going there. And so if you notice that you have this block, then this next section that we're going to do together here in visualizing your bowl, you may have more of a challenge going there. You may go, I have no idea what Lynn's talking about there. And that could just be because you have a block. I have a girlfriend who came to one of my courses. She's a Ralpher. And in my live courses, I teach body workers how to work with the body and how to help pregnant clients and postpartum clients recover after birth. And she came in, and every day in a live course, I do this pelvic bowl visualization just to help get the therapist connected to their power center. And this was years later. We're out for a walk, and she's like, Linny, she calls me Linny. Linny, I have no idea what you're talking about with that pelvic bowl visualization. And I went, oh my gosh. Well, at 8 years old, she got run over by a car. A tire wheel went across her entire abdomen.
Wow.
And so she was completely disconnected. So we had to work on that first in order to help her to get down into her bowl.
Right.
Okay. So I just want to share that with those listening in so that like if we try to go to this visualization, you're not getting anything, and you did that visualization of the color draining down your body or the sensations, and you got a block, you got to deal with the block first in order for this visualization to be effective or to help you to have greater access to it. Okay.
Great.
And so let's just tell, so our pelvis that I talked about, the bowl that the pelvis creates in our body, and we can have it, that's our physical bones of our body, or that physical bowl, but we can also have an energetic bowl. And that energetic bowl can be smaller or larger than what our physical bones are. And so we're going to spend a moment or two here just helping you to see if you can connect into what does your bowl look like. Okay. So I just invite you to get comfortable wherever you're at. If you're driving, please don't close your eyes. But do this later. Pull this up and listen to this later, and do this when you can. Really get in touch. There's two ways that you can get information when visualizing your pelvic bowl. And one is that you may see a picture in your mind's eye, your inner screen. Something may pop in as you just kind of tune into, what does my energetic pelvic bowl look like? The other way to get information is if I never see anything, but I sense and feel in my own body what's going on in my pelvic bowl. Okay. So I just invite everybody listening to just see what is showing up for you as your pelvic bowl. What do you sense about it? What's the shape? What's the size? Is it sitting level or is it tilted one way or another? And do you notice a difference between left side and right side? What about the front to the back? What do you notice about the walls of your bowl? Are they tall or short or thick or thin? Are there any dents or cracks anywhere in your bowl? Where in your bowl does your bowl want your attention? And then just see if there's anything else that your bowl wants you to know about it. And I'd also be curious for you to get a sense of, where are you observing your bowl from? Are you at the top looking down in? Are you in the middle, or are you at the bottom of the bowl? Can you inhabit the bottom of your bowl and kind of be in your bowl? Just notice where you are in relation to that bowl. And see if there's anything else that your bowl wants you to know about it. And then know that the different sides of the bowl mean different things. And I had one person that did this with me, and she's like, I don't have a back half of my bowl. I can't see it. And I'm like, well, the back half of your bowl represents support in your life. And she laughed and she goes, oh my God, I have none. And that's what her bowl was showing her, is she has no support. So what we can do is really work with the energy of what's showing up in our bowl, and then try to, I call it remodeling it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and take what you've found in there, okay, what you've discovered, and now let's sweep it out, okay? So I want you to imagine that there's a drain at the bottom of your bowl. You're going to open up that drain, and you're going to start at the front, at the top of your bowl. And you're going to use whatever tool feels appropriate, whether it's a broom, a brush, a rag, a hose. It could be a feather. It could be a spatula. Some of you might need a backhoe.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and just start sweeping down into that drain anything and everything that is no longer serving you. Anything that's willing to be released in this moment. We just invite it to go down the drain. Anybody else's energy that might be in your bowl that you no longer wish for them to be there, go ahead and sweep them out. Knowing that this is your bowl, this is your home. You get to decide what gets held in this space. And if you're making your way around and you get to an area that just feels resistant, please don't force anything to happen. Just spend an extra moment or two with that area and let it know you know it's there, and then move on. and keep working around your bowl till you get back to the front again. And for some of you, you may want to pause this as you're listening to this and keep continuing to sweep. But when you get back to the front, go ahead and just reassess your bowl. And what do you notice about it? Has it changed? Is it different? And so that Tammy Lynn Kent talks about the bowl and the different quadrants of the pelvic bowl in her Wild Feminine book. And she's got a beautiful, that's like a workbook. She's got different exercises and visualizations and things that you could do to work with the energy of your pelvic space. Now, for some people, that book is a little too woo-woo for people. Okay. But I'm here to tell you it's so important. This is such, yes, right? And so the pelvis, the left side of your pelvis represents your feminine energy. The right side represents your masculine energy. So depending back, we talked about support. The front is about letting go and your fears. And so depending on where things showed up, that's where you want to focus. That's where you want to work with your bowl to see if you can try to make some changes. And this is what I was doing with my clients. And then their friends were coming in going, oh my gosh, you changed her life. And I was just helping to balance the bowl because we really, in order to be in our power, accessing our truth, being able to speak our truth and be and feel being heard and our boundaries are being respected, it really requires us to be in the bottom of the bowl. And so in studying and working with Tammy's, holistic pelvic care, I came up with a 4-step process that I do. Tammy is very much in her feminine and she's so much in that flow. And I'm a little bit more in my masculine, and I like a little bit more structure to doing this flowy work that we do. And so I created a 4-step process in working with the bowl, and we just did 2 of them. So the first step is to visualize, see what you see is there. The second step is to sweep it out. And then the third step is whatever wouldn't release or whatever you're noticing happening in there, we got to work with it. So I call that remodeling. We got to remodel the bowl. We got to work with whatever was showing up that didn't want to let go, that, if you felt the resistance to it and then you had to move on, we want to work with what's that resistance. That's what we want to remodel. And then the fourth step is really getting into the bottom of our bowl, because the bottom of our bowl is our power.
Yes.
And a lot of women have so much trauma, or they've been told you're too much, you cry too much, you're too emotional, you're too, whatever it, fill in the blank, right? And that keeps us from really being authentically us because we don't feel like we should be that.
Right.
And when we can really get down into the bottom of our bowl, we can show up more authentically as ourselves.
Absolutely. We feel safe inside of ourselves to then show ourselves. And it's such an incredible transformation, because when I first did this, like I was not in my bowl. And then you're describing it. I'm looking down in my bowl. And just as we did this, I'm doing it with you. And I'm like, oh, I am so in the bottom of my bowl as I am viewing my bowl now. But it has been years that I have used this tool. And I love the balance between you and Tammy Lynn, because I've taken courses from both of you. And Tammy Lynn is so much in her feminine. And you take that and then you're like, and this is how you do it. And this is how you use it. And that 4-step process. And it's like, got it. It's so usable. And it's just incredible, the knowledge that comes from that feminine energy and then balancing it with your energy. And this is an incredible tool. I use it consistently. I wouldn't say daily, but it is often used in my life.
Yeah. And I would say that if anyone has had a negative interaction with someone, if they've, someone's really bugging them, or you're feeling off, you're feeling not yourself, you are really frustrated, or, any other time that you would do it. Several times, like I had a text from someone who was really irritated at something that really was his issue, but it was bugging me. And so I swept my bowl.
Same.
And so like any of those moments in time, like negative interaction with someone, sweep your bowl afterwards. Okay. Because that that like their energy just that gets stuck in us. And this is, like sometimes I think of it as like flushing the toilet and just letting the water go, and sweep that all out of us, because we don't need to hang on to it. After I have a negative or a challenging client session, I will make sure I sweep my bowl so that I'm not hanging on to any of that energy that came up in that session. And I'm not interacting, not keep holding on to what came up. It's like, let that go. That is not mine. And then I can be more clear and centered for my next client. So it's such a powerful tool. One story, I was driving home from spring break with my two boys in the car. They were in high school. We were coming back from a road trip, and we came across an accident on the highway. And we were only the fifth car on the scene. So I ran up to see if I could do something. And there was a gal that was upside down in her pickup truck. It had clipped the back of a semi and had rolled. And so she's hanging upside down, and the trucker's in the middle of the road, and he goes, she's alive, but nobody's over there talking to her, like nobody's with her. And so I went over and I just started talking to her, and she's in complete trauma. Like every 5 minutes, she's like, what happened? Where am I? But she could move, and I was just trying to keep her calm and, keep her from moving. And then, ambulance came, took her away. And I got home that night, and I'm trying to go to sleep. And I am tossing and turning and turning and tossing. And this is way before menopause, everybody. So I didn't have any problems falling asleep back then. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And then I just happened to tune into my bowl. And it was filled with so much, it looked like clouds or smoke, and it was just this gal's shock and trauma that I had picked up on that I didn't even realize I did. And that's what's so important for women to know, is we pick up on so much stuff that we don't even realize that we're picking up on it.
Right.
And when I tuned in and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is that girl's shock and trauma that I'm holding. I swept my bowl, rolled over, and went to sleep.
Right. Yeah.
It is so crazy how powerful. I tell women that, when I teach them this sweeping exercise, I'm like, this is the most powerful tool I could ever share with you.
It is. It really is, because we now get to be in charge of that energy that's coming at us, because we do pick up the energy. Kids, husbands, work, all of that comes in. And if you're sweeping it, then it's releasing it and you're no longer holding it. And it's amazing as you tune into the bowl. If you do it daily or consistently, your bowl is not the same every single time.
No.
What's going on in your life? It's looking at, oh, okay, so right now when I looked at my bowl, the front is translucent. And it's like, it's there, but it's completely translucent. This is interesting. It wasn't like that when, I did it the other day. So something has shifted and changed. And so we get to look at that. And I love how you take in, let's work with that. Let's remodel. Let's see what we can do. Because I did the sweeping, but it's still nice and translucent. And so like, okay, so what's coming up in my life? And I know, but what's coming up in my life that's feeling so open, that there's still a boundary, but it's feeling very open. And it's when you tune in.
Right. And what's great about this is the body can't lie. Your pelvis can't lie. So when I've shared this visualization and sweeping exercise with audiences, afterwards, people would come up to me and go, oh, I saw this and I saw that. And I would explain to them what that area of the bowl represented. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, that's spot on. That's spot on. So, really want to give a lot of credit to Tammy Lynn Kent for bringing this work out into the world and sharing it with us, because it is so flippin' powerful. And I just love it. But one of the things that I want, like that fourth step of trying to get down into the bowl, an analogy that I see happening is that the pelvis is like our home. Okay. And I liken that vaginal opening like the front door. Okay. Mm-hmm. And sometimes things that have happened to us in our life, it's like we go to the front door and we open it up and there's a scary monster at the front door. So what do? But energetically, we leave the front door open and we run away.
Hmm.
And we abandon our pelvic space. We abandon our home.
Yes.
And so energetically, a lot of people are gone from their pelvic space. They're not in their home. And usually there's something that kept them out. And birth could be one of them.
Yes.
Okay, so we know, sexual abuse, we know emotional, verbal abuse, all that can cause us to abandon our home. Even an overbearing mother,
Uh-huh.
a mom who is just like so in your life and, just won't give you any space. That is an overbearing mom who you are going to abandon your pelvic space because mom's in there.
Hmm. Exactly.
So that abandoning that, in childbirth, anything that is overwhelming, anything that is too much, any trauma experience in the body, you're abandoning that pelvic space.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so we need to acknowledge that. And that's I'm just naming some of these things. So for those of you there's like, yeah, I can't access, I can't get down there. That could be some of those blocks that we talked about initially, like why you can't get down in there. And so what's so important for women to understand is that, childbirth is the most beautiful, empowering experience for some, and it
Uh-huh.
can be extremely traumatizing for others. And then there's all of those in between.
Right. Yep.
And even those that are like, oh, it was the most amazing, beautiful thing in the world, it's still so intense that we can disconnect from our
Hmm.
pelvic space. And
Absolutely.
when I work with older women and they have these, like their way of showing up in the world drastically changes.
Uh-huh.
If you go back to that moment in time when that change happened, it is usually around the birth.
Hmm.
Okay. So there's so much that, like that birth experience, we need to understand that our energy field expands and fills the entire room.
Yes.
And so whatever happens to us in that birth experience, that is impacting our body.
Hmm.
It's impacting our energy. It's impacting, I've had some women, I used to be this most powerful, productive, like woman and really out there crushing it. And now I can't get anything done.
Right.
And so there's like this transformation that happened in a negative way. So for some women, birth is a very empowering and it helps to make them feel even more powerful. But
Hmm.
for others, it can be the exact opposite. And
Absolutely.
so I just want people to know and understand that birth is an intense experience and there can be trauma around it. And I say there's small t trauma and capital T trauma. Like the capital T trauma, most people are like, oh, yeah, I was traumatized in my birth. But then yet there's all these other women like, oh, no, my birth was great. But yet, as I work with them in their body, they're like, oh, yeah, that happened. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so incredible because like my first birth, which is did not realize was impacting second birth and how I was showing up and the prolapse until I worked with you and I'm laying on your table and it's like, oh wait, this goes back to my daughter's birth because it was a traumatic birth and I had kind of fled the space and left the pelvis and what it was not the empowering space that some people experience. And it's like, oh my gosh, birth was supposed to be incredible. And it really sucked. And then I have all of this emotion and stories that I tied to it. But then you're looking at and really open, talked about how you open your space. And it's not just my energy that was impacting me, it's the energy of the people that were in the room because I am so open. So I'm picking up on anxieties and fears and things like that that were going on as well as, what actually happened to me. And so it's piece, really going through and pulling out and saying, is this even yours? Well, can we give it back? And let's repattern what happened here because this was big and being able to step in a space where I could feel empowered around what happened instead of completely the victim.
Right. It is so transformational
It
when
is.
you can, and I find just I want people to understand that you don't have to go back and nitpick all the yuckiness of
Nope.
a trauma. Okay. We don't need to do that. We can replay a birth in a more empowering way because our mind knows no difference between imagination and reality.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. It's amazing.
The power of I read a quote once, our imagination is our most godlike quality that we possess.
I believe that.
It's so, so powerful. So we can use our imagination to replay events in a different way to help shift the energy in the body. And what I want people to understand is that if you have done some work and you've done some cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT is what they call it, that's talk therapy.
Yep.
Talk therapy only heals you to a certain level.
Yes.
It needs to be done in order to fully effectively heal. You have to bring that into the body. You have to, like, I almost sense like the body has two levels of consciousness. It has the brain, it has the thinking part of us that is one level of consciousness. And then it's the body and the tissues hold on to what have happened to us. And it's in our body and it's in our tissues. And so the work that Landy and I both do is listening to what's the response in the body. How is the body reacting to what you just said there? Because the body can't lie. And when you listen to the body and you say something, now I have this example. I was having some right back pain. I was teaching a course and my right psoas muscle just felt like it needed something, like, oh, it just needed to be released is what I felt. And so I had a student who I had trained on, knew how to do this work. And I'm like, hey, Jenny, can you stay after class? My right psoas just needs to be released. Would you mind working on me? And she's like, sure, no problem. So everybody leaves. I lay down on the table. She tunes into my body. And we all know how to, Landy and I both know how to like sense into where something is really going on in your body, not just following the pain. And she tunes into my body and she goes, Lynn, it's not your right psoas muscle. And as soon as she put her hands on me, then I was able to feel the massive block of energy going down my right leg. But until she put her hands on me, I had zero awareness of it.
Right.
And so sometimes we need someone to help us to feel what's really going on in our body. Like we are not meant to be islands, everybody. We are meant to support one another.
Yes.
And so if you had nothing showing up in the back of your bowl, that means you need support. You need to reach out and find someone who's willing to support you so that you can get the healing that you need to show up differently in your world. I truly believe we are the creators of our life. We are co-creating this life with God. That is my spiritual belief. And we have the power and the control to change something if we don't like it.
Yes, I agree.
And we have to be in our pelvis. We have to be home in order to make that happen. So I'm on the table. I'm having this right-sided back pain. Jenny's like, it's not your psoas muscle, Lynn. And as soon as she says that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this massive block going down my right leg. Now I can sense into it. And she's like, okay, so what do you think this is about? And I go, oh, it's this, and this. I have no idea what I remember, what I said at that moment. And she's listening with her hands on my body and noticed no change in my body.
Yeah.
And so I teach, we don't say no, that's wrong. We say, let's go a little deeper, which is a clue that you didn't hit it, right? I didn't get the right thing that made a change in that flow of energy. And so then I got deep, I got quiet, I went a little deeper and I'm like, oh, it's this. And as soon as I said it out loud, the energy started moving in my body, which told me that I was going down the right path. And that is the power of using our body to guide what's really going on. Because if I would have just gone with that first reaction, we would have gone down that path and nothing would have changed.
Yeah.
So listening to the body to help guide us is super, super helpful in really getting to the root cause of what's going on and what's creating that pain. And so we addressed that second thing that I talked about, and I got off the table and I felt like I was walking on clouds. My right side was so freely moving. It was incredible.
Yes.
So I've had this experience multiple times where, again, and we all tend to have sides of the body that speak to us more
Mhm.
frequently than others. Mine's my right side.
Yeah.
So, some people, it's all their left side. Everything shows up on the left side. And so for me, it's always my right side. It's always that low back area. And, I have issues with men in my life, and so that's my journey. That's what I'm here to work on. And so again, right-sided low back pain that I'm a PT. I iced it, I stretched it, I strengthened it, ibuprofen. Like I did all the things that I know how to address pain in the body, and it wasn't touching it.
Right.
And so I knew immediately that this isn't a physical pain.
Yes.
Okay. Because if it were a physical pain, the pain would have changed with doing any of one of those 5 things that I just mentioned.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I call up Jenny again. Jenny, I'm like, hey, I need a session. So we go and I go and lay on her table and she scans my body. Now, mind you, this is my right low back area. And
Mhm.
she's like, oh, it's your left kidney. I go, what? I would have never in a million years have said, oh, this was connected to my left kidney until she put her hands on my left kidney. I immediately felt the connection into that pain in my right low back.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so I'm like, all right. So we went to the left kidney and we had this amazing visualization came up and, I worked with it and it shifted everything and boom, it was just like pain was gone. But I got off the table, pain was gone.
Hmm. And that's a common thing with this work. Is
Yes.
this is so works so quickly because 1, 2, 3 sessions and things are shifted. Like pain with sex was always one session for me with people.
Yep. Me
Because
too.
you can really, see what the body is telling you, and the body is telling the story, not the head stories, but the
Yep.
body story. And it just shifts so quickly.
Yeah.
And it was incredible when I started using your work with my clients in
Yeah.
like the transformations that happened in a session. And like you, I started getting oh my gosh, my friend told me that I have to come see you. I'm not exactly sure why, but I have to see you. And 3 other people told me. And it's this work. It's because we're not just looking at something in isolation.
Right.
We're looking at the whole system. We're tuning into what the body wants and what the body's saying and the body's story.
Yeah.
And you get right to it.
Yeah. It's so fun. 2 stories on pain with intercourse. A gal, postpartum, 9 months, postpartum, pain with intercourse. She waits 4 months to get in to see her OBGYN because she's having pain with intercourse. And he looks at her and goes, oh, everything's fine.
Right. Structurally, everything looks good.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But
Mhm.
we need to understand the OBGYNs are not looking at mobility. They do not understand how tissues need to move, especially for intercourse.
Yes.
And the other day I was playing tennis and we got done with our match. I'm on a team and we were all sitting around waiting for the last match to happen. And one of the moms says, oh, my daughter just got her period for the first time. And so we were talking about periods and daughters and this and that. And I said, oh, you're going to, introduce her to the Diva Cup or to, a menstrual cup. And she was like, no, I don't use that. And I go, oh, well, it's super easy. And as long as your cervix is in the midline and it's got good mobility in there, it'll work great. And there was
Right.
a doctor there and she goes, the cervix is supposed to move?
Yeah. It's like,
I was like, uh-huh. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest issues. So if any of you all are having pain with intercourse, deep thrusting pain with intercourse, your cervix cannot move. And
right.
so this is just I really want to, and I'm working to try to change the way that pelvic health therapists are doing intravaginal work, but
Mhm.
it should not be painful, everybody. If you are seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist or occupational therapist and it's painful, please have them stop. Please tell them to come learn and work with me, and learn, like, or go see someone else if you can. I know they're limited around some areas, but it should not be painful in having it done. And like Landy said, when we tune into the tissues and get a sense of what's going on, it can get cleared up beautifully. So this gal, 9 months postpartum, pain with intercourse, and I go, yeah, it usually only takes 1 session. She thought I was crazy.
Right.
And she had some scar tissue, but she also had the open birthing pattern. So that's another thing that I've discovered in the years of working with women, is that the bones of the pelvis have to widen for a baby to come on out, but they don't always return to their original position, which puts strain and stretch on the pelvic floor muscles, which can cause insertional pain with intercourse. So
Yeah.
insertional pain is pelvic floor muscle issue. Deep thrusting pain is more cervical mobility issue. And we can address all of that. So I got her done in one session, and I'm like, your tissues are great. They can open and expand. I said, homework, go have sex with your husband tonight. I got the most beautiful email from her. She said she was crying tears of joy because it felt normal again after 9 months of having pain. And then the other fun story is I have a really good friend who, her and I moved out to Seattle together from St. Louis way back in the day, and we explored Seattle together. She's an occupational therapist, and we both got temp jobs. And anyway, she had had a hysterectomy, and now was, 2, 3, 4 years later, I forget how long it's been, but she started having issues. And so I'm like, come on in. So she flew in and stayed with me, and I worked on her, and she had scar tissue from the hysterectomy. And, we helped to mobilize those tissues. And I got the sweetest voicemail from her husband afterwards. And he's like, Lynn, this is Pat, Janet's husband. Like, I wouldn't know him, but, and he goes, I just want to thank you for working on my wife, because that was fun.
That is awesome.
I want to use that audio on my website. Like, it's you can tell the excitement and joy in his, in his voice. And it's just, yeah, it's so fun, Landy, when we work with these tissues in this way and get to those deeper root problems and help women get reconnected back into this pelvic space and know that healing can happen. I just worked with a 64-year-old woman who was having all these issues. She thought she has a prolapse, but she thought two structures were prolapsed, but it was really only one. And we were able to make massive changes in her pelvic floor muscle strength.
Yeah.
And she was just blown away. And she was like, Lynn, we need to be shouting from the rooftop that healing can happen at no matter what age. Once postpartum, you're always postpartum. And so you can always get help and support depending on what you have going on. A lot of times I find that the structures are really just kind of being tied down, that either scar tissue, if you tore, or you had an episiotomy, or, when a baby comes out vaginally, it rearranges the furniture intravaginally. Like, it pushes your bladder over. It can cause your cervix to be anywhere, which way. And when you help rearrange things and get it back into place, everything can just function so much easier. And so if you're trying to do a Kegel, because anything down there, oh, just do Kegels, that's what you're being told. But if your muscles are turned off, and I put off in quotes, okay, because they're not fully turned off, but let's just say the dimmer switch is very low on some of these muscles, right? That after you get this work done in the way that I teach it, then it turns the dimmer switch up. And then the muscles are just able to function like normally. Like, you shouldn't have to over effort to make your pelvic floor muscles turn on.
Great.
They should be able to turn on and off, just like you open and closing your hand into a fist, or opening your hand. That's as easy as the pelvic floor should work. And so knowing that, and nobody's talking about this. I am the first person that has discovered the bones of the pelvis don't go back after birth. And so I have been trying to get this idea out into the world for the past almost 9 years now, and it still hasn't caught on.
Such an incredible change, because as someone who had an open birthing pattern and someone who has worked with women with open birthing pattern, you close those bones and the muscles are just so different and so responsive. And it's like, oh, and that's why I'm leaking when I, run, sneeze, cough, whatever. That's why I'm having pain with sex. That's why I'm feeling this prolapse, because, oh my gosh, that was a huge thing for me. It's like, oh, wait, things are supported now. And just like open and hanging there. And so that is such an impactful way to support the body.
Yeah.
Close those bones.
I want to just say for those of you that have birthed babies, if you have a hard time laying on a hard surface on your back, your
Mhm.
sacrum is stuck in flexion. If you go to do yoga or you're laying on the ground and you go to roll up, your sacrum should roll, you should roll easily onto your sit bones. But if there's this like clunk, or like, oh, I used to be able to roll up so beautifully, and now there's like this clunk. And this is what happened to the 64-year-old woman that I just worked with. Her sacrum was stuck in extension or flexion, meaning the tailbone was back too far. And that when she would roll up, she would be like, there would be this like clunk. And
Okay.
and then now that we got her sacrum in, she's like, oh my gosh, I can roll up now and I don't clunk anymore. And
Yeah.
nobody's looking for this, which is just, it's crazy that we just assume everything goes back together again after birth. And sometimes it does. I don't want to, say that it doesn't, but a lot of times it doesn't.
Great. And you're looking at what happened during that birthing experience that can
Yes.
really impact the way it doesn't go back to the way it
Yeah.
felt great, the optimal placement for things. And, if it's
Yeah.
smooth, easy birth, yeah, I understand why things can easily come back. But if we had hiccups, if we had stressors, if we had trauma, if we had a really difficult birth,
Yeah.
there's a lot that can.
I would say that if you've pushed greater than 2 hours, you probably have an open birthing pattern. If
Mhm.
your baby came out asynclitic, OP, you definitely have an open birthing pattern. If you sit cattywampus, if you feel like I just can't sit evenly anymore, you have an open birthing pattern.
Uh-huh.
If you can't lay on a hard surface on your back, that's an open birthing pattern. So these are all indicators that your pelvic bones have not come back down, because it all depends. So if you're seeing a pelvic floor therapist and you're seeing them for back pain, pelvic pain that started after you had your baby, and they don't ask you what position you were in when the baby came out, they're not addressing the pelvic bones.
Right. Because it's so important, because the way that you were birthing
Yes.
impacts how those bones can open to allow baby to come out. So if you're on your side, you're going to have one side of your pelvis that can open. The other side has been restricted. If you're on your back and all fours, it's going to change what went on with your body.
Yeah, and especially if you were standing or kneeling with one leg up,
Yes.
that can also, the leg that is up, that ischium is going to be more out to the side. Your sit bone that you sit on is going to be more lateral than the other one. And that's going to cause increased strain on that side. Like I can tell you by feeling into the pelvic floor muscles, I can tell you where the tone is. I can tell you what your bones were doing. And
Mhm.
I just worked with a man. I rarely see men anymore, but this is a client's husband that I've been working with for several years. And she was just like, he's seen 22 therapists, 22 different therapists and doctors for pelvic pain that started from him straining, having a bowel movement.
Oh,
Just first session, massive changes. But he still had a flare up, but it wasn't as much intense, and it quieted down quicker. But this time when I worked with him, his right rami bone, or which side was it? Left, yeah, it was his left rami bone, was like had him in sideline. And I'm like pressing down and I'm like, this bone is so hard. It just felt thicker. And I'm like, have you ever fallen on your butt or and he's like, no, not that I'm aware of. And so I kept working, but everything on that left side was just so hard. And I go, and he's like, yeah, maybe I did, and he did. The falls and impacts on our pelvis was causing this strain on the left side. And he, got up after I worked on that bone. He sat up and he goes, oh my God, there's not this lump down there anymore. And it's just so crazy. And he's like, Lynn, not many people are working with men. And I've had a friend tell me, you need to work with men more, Lynn. And I was like, no, I'm so resistant to it. But now I've got 3 men on my schedule. So be open to what you need to do, right? Like,
is to be open to what you need to do and what the universe is going to bring you and
exactly. Yeah.
what direction it's going to go.
Yeah, yeah. So I hope everybody listening in here though, and thank you for staying on this late into our conversation. I hope you have found it enlightening, but really understand the importance of the power of your pelvis. That's There
Absolutely.
is so much power in our pelvic space that when we connect into it, It really does. And we have good balance there. We work on whatever we need to remodel in there, and we get down into the bottom of our pelvis. Man, your life does change. You are in your truth, you're in your power. And the other analogy I like about that is, let's say someone is really struggling with being heard. Like her, she just, nobody listens to her. And that is a person who is living on the top of their bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. And the analogy is let's say you're in a stadium and you're trying to get the entire audience's attention. Okay. But when you're living on the top of the bowl, you're trying to get the audience's attention from the roof.
Right.
And when you're standing on the top of the roof, you're way more affected by the wind and the weather and everything else, which is everybody else's opinions.
Yes.
When you're living on the top of your bowl, you're way more influenced by others.
Yeah.
But when you learn to come down into and nobody can hear you, right? Nobody can hear you up on the roof if they're sitting in the stadium, in the stands. But when you come down into the center of the field, all you have to do is whisper and everybody can hear you. And that is the power of being in the bottom of your bowl. And I'm sure some of you listening in might be parents. And I had, with my boys, I have two boys that are 2 years apart. And the younger one used to piss the older one off. And so the younger one did something, I don't even know what, but he runs upstairs and he slams the door to his room and like is hiding. And the other one is trying to break the wall, the door down, right? Like he's trying to get him. And I go upstairs and I stand in front of that door. And I just got into the bottom of my bowl and I just stood there and I just asked my son to calm down. Just took some breaths, just stood in the bottom and like was in my power, in my pelvis. And I just felt my son just like, and it calmed him down. So there's so much beautiful use of us connecting into this pelvic space. It can help us with our parenting. It can help us with our work. It can help us with our relationships. It can help us with our finances. I worked with a business coach who I like to do the bowls for different aspects of our job, of our life. So we can have a relationship bowl, we can have a finance bowl, we can have a work bowl, and then different aspects show up for you based on that, what bowl you're working on. And so she is this business coach, and I said, okay, well, let's check in with your finance bowl. What does your money bowl have to say? And she laughs. She goes, oh my gosh, it's a thimble. And so we worked with it. We figured out what was causing it to be that small, and we helped expand it. The next month, she brought in $35,000.
That's incredible.
Revenue. Yeah, right. So she was doing a launch, but that launch was really successful because she expanded her bowl. Now, when I'm working with my business and I know I have something big coming up, I'm like, all right, I want to expand my bowl. I want to be able to hold more. Like if you've gotten a certain temperature, you're used to a certain level, you need to expand your energy to be able to hold more. And so I've had to do it with my business multiple times to expand, to be able to hold more students, to be able to, bring in more money, to be able to expand this work. There's so much connection to our bowl.
It is. Yeah, it's increasing our capacity.
Yes.
Have to tune into what the body is saying. And that bowl, and I love the financial bowl because once you told me about that, I started using that in my business in like, oh, this is why, because I can tune in that business and go, oh, that's why I'm not like putting myself out there. That's why I'm kind of restricting my income. And then we can shift and remodel. And it does change the outer reality once we change the inside of what's going on.
That's so important that you said that, Landy, because everybody wants to change their outer experience, and they'll start looking outside of themselves.
Absolutely.
But in reality, it's what's going on inside of you. And I love working with this pelvic space because it shows you exactly what's going on and where you're, holding yourself back.
And it's taking out the mystery of like trying to find the next guru that's going to give you the magic solution to whatever. It's inside you. It
Yeah.
really is. And then it's getting in tune with like, okay, so why can't I be seen? Why can't I be heard? Why am I not putting myself out there? Why am
Yeah.
I restricting my income? Why am I self-sabotaging? It's right there inside your body.
Yeah. Your body can guide you when you learn to listen to it.
Absolutely.
And it starts with a small little interoceptions of, okay, I'm hungry. What do I feel like working? What do I feel like eating right now? What do I feel like wearing today? What, like just those little tuning in to those little moments. And as you listen inside and get a sense and feel like today, I felt like wearing red today. And so, so that's like listening to those little things can help guide you and open that up, because our intuition is a muscle. The more you listen to it, the bigger it gets, the stronger it gets. And then it can help you in all aspects of your life.
100%. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for this conversation. This has been incredible.
Thank you, Landy. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, because I love sharing this. It's so powerful, and I know how much you get it. And you are such a beautiful, you've embodied this work so beautifully, and you've been sharing it so beautifully with others. So I'm so, so grateful that you are helping to spread this work far and wide. So anybody who works with you is super lucky.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I know that there's listeners who really are resonating with what you're saying and would love to continue the conversation with you. What are ways that they can get in touch with you?
So if you would like a session, we can do Zoom sessions online. You don't have to be local. I am in the Colorado area, so I'm in the Longmont or Boulder, Colorado area. So if you're local, feel free to come in person. And if not, we can do things on Zoom. The center, so centerforbirthhealing.com is my website. And that's CENTER if you're not from the UK or London. But centerforbirthhealing.com is my clinical website. And if you are wanting to find a practitioner who has studied with me that knows more about this birth healing and how to help you with those issues, I do have a directory on my Institute for Birth Healing website. So if it's directory.instituteforbirthhealing.com, and that is where you will find practitioners who have studied and trained with me. And hopefully there's someone in your area you could go work with in person. But if not, Landy knows how to do this work. I know how to do this work, and we'd love to support you in being able to step into your power more and to really live the life that you are meant to be living in this world. It's so important, especially today. We need to be in our power. We need to be accessing our intuition. We need to allow our creative energies. Our creativity is what's going to get us out of the current state of this world that we are in. And so we need everyone to access that as best as possible, to be able to follow your heart, follow your intuition. And that's what we need to be teaching our children too.
Absolutely. So I will have all of Lynn's links down in the show notes. And yes, you need to, especially if you feel that calling, really step in to do your own inner work. And this is such a huge way to do it so that we can be in that calm power. So our voices can be heard. Because if we're standing at the top of the bowl, we can be screaming, but we're not heard. We need to be down in the bottom of our bowl so our voices really have impact. Lynn, thank you so much. This has been
Thank you. Thank you so much, Landy, for having me. And thank you, everybody, for listening in.
I hope Lynn's words were just as profound for you as they have been for me. I am so grateful for Lynn's wisdom, her grounded way of teaching, and the way she brings truth to the surface with such clarity. If this conversation stirred something in you, whether you've given birth or not, I want you to know that your body remembers how to come home, how to tune in to the person, the soul that you are underneath all of the things that have happened in your life, society's expectations, all of the stressors and overwhelm. Your pelvic space is not just anatomy. It's where your truth lives, your power, your presence, your voice. Lynn and I both believe that women are meant to live from the bottom of the bowl, not from the rooftop, not from your head, but from within your body. Because when you're rooted in your body, you don't have to yell to be heard. You just have to speak. All of Lynn's links are in the show notes, including how to work with her, find a practitioner near you who's been trained by her, or explore this work in your own way. And if you've loved this conversation, please, please share it. I know Lynn is on a mission to get this information in as many hands as absolutely possible because this work changes lives. It was something I had no idea about until I stumbled upon Lynn, and really coming into that space changes so much in how we show up in the world. We need more women embodied in their own power and more conversations like this one in the world. So please, please, please share. Check out Lynn. Leave a review because it really does make a difference. Head on over to Apple or Spotify. Tag me in Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tag Lynn as well. We love opening up these conversations. And because I think it's so important, I want you to hear you are smart. You are brave. You are kind. You are generous. You are loving. You are making a difference in this world. And I am so grateful that you are in my life. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you and I like you. And I wish you all the pelvic power that you tap into today. Until next time, breathe into your body and listen. Just get curious about what it's trying to tell you. We'll talk to you on the next episode. Hey, before you go, just a little bit of legal. This podcast is designed for educational purposes only. It is not to replace any expert advice from your doctors, therapists, coaches, or any other professional that you would work with. It's just a chat with a friend, me, where we get curious about ideas, thoughts, and things that are going on in our lives. And as we're talking about friends, if you know someone who would benefit from the conversation today, please share. Because I think the more that we open up these conversations, the more benefit we all get. So until next time, give yourself a big hug from me and stay curious, because that's the fun in this world.